one is going to be very serious, folks, and that's John Lott talking about mass shooters in general and what patterns we can glean, and unfortunately, the only one is suicidal. And the second one is Owen Benjamin to talk about big tech censorship and how we feel about free speech and how crazy the left has become. John, are you there?
I am. Good to talk to you again. It's been a little while.
Yeah, we always talk after a massacre or something horrible. You know, I've been noticing, and I shouldn't be surprised, because with Parkland and all the teen shootings, they say this is about guns, and you think, can you just take a time out from your agenda while people mourn and not try to earn political points? And with this, the massacre in Pittsburgh, I've noticed people saying, you see, this is about Trump and white nationalism, and we have a real Nazi problem in this country. And I'm thinking, just stop with the Trump just for a second and let these people mourn. But no, I got to hitch my wagon to this attention and get my way with this Trump agenda.
Right. Well, they usually have it two ways. One is, well, it's usually the liberal Democrats who come out and advocate gun control within like an hour of any of these attacks. And if anybody points out that the problem may be we've had yet another mass public shooting in a gun-free zone, then they bring up what you're saying about, you know, the politics can't you wait. You know, there's no kind of symmetry there in terms of how they go and treat these things. So, but you know, I don't know. I mean, I've never seen such political bias as I have about the gun issue and about Trump, obviously, as I have over the last couple of years, and particularly over the last few months. With Trump, it seems like the media goes out of its way to misinterpret in whatever way possible things that he said in order to make it appear racist or, you know, bigoted or something in some way.
Well, Don Lemon
you know, I can always say, thank God we have somebody like Trump who, after the shooting, made the comment that wouldn't it have been nice if somebody there had a concealed handgun in order to go and stop this attack. You know, I can't tell you how frustrated and sad I get after these attacks. It really knocks the wind out of me. I've been dealing with these things for 20 years, and it just seemed incredibly obvious to me. Read the diaries, read the statements, videos, or other things that these killers leave behind. You mentioned Parkland. These guys are not stupid. They're trying to go and pick targets where victims are vulnerable, so they're going to be able to go and kill as many people as possible. Their goal is to kill as many people as possible. The way you can discourage them from doing these attacks is to have it so you can get somebody there quickly with a gun in order to stop them. I mean, 5 minutes is too long for these types of events.
And to be clear, Trump never said, I want every teacher to have a gun. He said if they have a concealed carry and they're able to have their gun on their own time and they're trained and all that, then a school should be included in one of the many places that these people are able to carry their own guns that they have on their person all the time.
Right. Well, I mean, Trump was willing to go and spend some federal dollars on doing the training and stuff like that. But, you know, look, a lot of gun control advocates have a problem with police carrying guns. Pittsburgh, just last week, there's the Pittsburgh School District voted 8-1 against letting police carry guns on school property. You know, they have their own police division. I mean, who can be against that? But I personally think police have an almost impossible job stopping these types of shootings. I mean, I think police are extremely important, but when you come to these types of mass public shootings, you're talking about somebody in uniform. If the killers have huge strategic advantages, they choose the time and the place of the attack, and they know if they kill the person in uniform first, then they'll have free rein to go and kill other people that are there. And so that the officer is the first person to kill. The advantage of concealed carry is you take away that strategic advantage, and the killers don't know who it is that they're supposed to go and try to take out first. And that discourages them. Plus, it makes the job, if you're going to have police, it makes their job safer, because the killers know then that if they go and shoot the officer, they reveal their position, and they have to worry that somebody behind them or to the side is going to be able to go and take out their gun and then shoot them. And so it makes them reticent to step forward and start the attack.
You know, you wrote an article recently talking about profiling these people, because the new narrative with this last shooting is we have to get rid of not just Nazis, but basically they seem to be implying that every Trump supporter is a ticking time bomb, all these racist white males. But that is imbuing all of this philosophy and political ideology to these people who tend not really to have any substance. These shooters are not, you know, you look at Michelle Malkin's canon and you'll see millions of articles and words that she's written since high school. These guys don't have a litany of ideology. They're just nuts.
Right. Well, I mean, when you look at the mass public shooters, what you find are people who want to commit suicide. They're relatively smart, but they want to commit suicide, but they want to commit suicide in a way that's going to get them attention. I mean, you look at something like the Sandy Hook killer. He had done what the police referred to as a doctoral dissertation. He looked at mass public shootings over 40 years around the world, gathered incredibly detailed information about it. He knew, you know, just about everything you could ask about. But one of the things he collected was the amount of media coverage. And he graphed out the relationship between the number of people killed in these attacks and the amount of media coverage. And not surprisingly, he discovered that the more people that you kill, the more media coverage that you're going to get. Oh, and his goal, according to one news story from a police leak, was that his goal was to kill more people than the Norway killer had killed, who had killed 67 just with the gun, ignoring the bombing deaths, and wounded 110 other people, because he wanted to get more media attention worldwide than the Norway killer had gotten.
So
my own guess is one of the reasons why he went after an elementary school. I mean, I have no proof on this last point, but my guess is one of the reasons why he went after the elementary school was because he probably thought it would help get him more media attention to go and have little children being killed.
So if we're looking for an ideology that is common throughout all these mass killings, you're not going to find that it's left or right or Nazis or liberals. You're going to find that it's a suicidal person who's strategic and wants maximum death.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we just went through this. We have something on our website at crimeresearch.org where we looked at all the mass public shooters. We looked at all the vehicle mass killings. We've looked at bombing deaths over the last 20 years in the United States. And what you find is that about 70% of these individuals have no real defined religious views or political views.
That's crucial, right?
We're talking about 3% of these killers are either conservatives or Republicans. About 3% are liberals or Democrats. And you have a couple percent which are classified as right-wing, and maybe 1% is classified as left-wing. But I'm just taking the media descriptions on these things, and I have trouble with that. I mean, for example, if you dislike Jews, then the media will automatically classify you as right-wing. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I was an academic for most of my adult life, and I know lots of left-wing professors who hated Israel.
Oh, go do a talk at a liberal school as an Israeli and see how anti-Semitic the left can get. They call Dershowitz a Nazi.
Right. When I've taught, I've had students come up to me, Jewish students come up to me after a class and say, wow, you know, I've been here for 4 years and I've never heard a professor refer to the terrorists in Israel as terrorists. The professors always call them freedom fighters or something like that. And I said, well, you know, I don't know what else to call them. But, you know, it's just the fact that I would use a term like that, because I'd be talking, you know, giving them an economics example of mass public shootings or something in Israel. And, but, you know, so the notion that just you can go and classify somebody as right-wing because they dislike Jews is just simply nutty. But that's what you see happen a lot. I mean, the ADL does that.
Well, Don Lemon was just on saying it's beyond the Trump and right-wingers. The real issue here is white men. We have to put a travel ban on white men because they're doing all this violence and shooting. Okay.
Well, I mean, white males do disproportionately make up the share of these killers.
Well, let's get rid of them.
But who knows? Just go and say that they're radicalized, though, is just completely wrong. As I say, you have people who are committing suicide, and they're just trying to commit suicide in a way that people will know that they were here. One interesting thing is the largest group, religious-wise by far, are Muslims. About 11% of these mass killings over the last 20 years are by Muslims.
Not Christian.
And that's in the United States. Worldwide, it's much, much higher.
Right.
I mean, you look at something like vehicle attacks, and you'll get like 80%, 83%, something like that, of vehicle attacks around the world are by Muslims. You look at bombings, it's about 80%. You look at mass public shootings. You look at the 25 worst mass public shootings in the world since 1970, and 23 of the 25 were done by Muslims. And I'm not even including guerrilla fights. So like the worst school shooting of all time was the Besan school shooting in Russia, where you had, I think it was like 375 school children killed and 700 wounded. That was in 2004. But I mean, that was Chechen rebels, Muslims who did the killing there. So I usually don't include those types of numbers because you get a lot of those.
What percentage in America are the shooters Christian?
It's very small. You're talking about just a few percent.
Wow, fascinating. So they're all atheists, I guess.
Well, or they just don't. I mean, let's put it this way. These are cases, again, where the media will mention what their religious views are. And so I don't know. I mean, it could be, all I can tell you is that it wasn't important enough to the story. Because we go through, we've read hundreds of news stories on each of these cases when they occur. And if it was in any way, even if it's not, they'll mention the religious views. But if it was in any way at all related to the attack, then they would mention the person's religious views. Or they'd mention their political views.
Once again, John, you've become too interesting, and we've gone way over time. You're going to have to be a lot less fascinating next time we're on the show, so we can keep it under 10.
Well, you bring out the best of me. What can I say?
Thanks so much for coming on the show. It's always very enlightening having you on.
I appreciate you being there. It's just, talking on shows like yours is kind of my mental therapy because otherwise I just be screaming at the TV all the time. So I appreciate it.
Thanks a lot, John.
Take care.